You're exactly right. You know, we had a tragic accident. Nobody's running from that fact that Deepwater Horizon was very tragic in the Gulf of Mexico, and we'll learn from that. The oil companies, energy production companies will learn from that. But during that moratorium under the Obama administration, and then later he said he lifted the moratorium, but there was a de facto moratorium because they were failing to issue leases and permits for continued drilling out there for companies that already invested billions of dollars in purchasing the rights to those lease areas to explore for energy and produce energy. They were languishing out there waiting on the drilling permits to come back from Washington, and the Department of Energy, the Department of Interior were slow walking these permits. And so at some point in time, those energy companies said, you know what, we're going to drag those drilling platforms out of the Gulf of Mexico, and they towed them to the shore offshore of Brazil, to the seas offshore Brazil and the seas offshore of Africa. And today they are drilling for energy in other countries. And we had them here in the Gulf of Mexico producing American energy to lower the price at the pump for American consumers. It's very expensive to get those drilling platforms back to the Gulf. And so, as tragic as Horizon was, we learned from it. The Obama administration issued moratorium, stopped that drilling, and then they said, well, we're going to end the moratorium. But then when they fail to issue the leases, it's really a moratorium. It's instituting their policies, and it's going to be very difficult for us to get that production level back in the Gulf of Mexico because it's expensive for those companies to bring those rigs back, and I'll yield back.
And I think as those rigs have left, as we've seen production occur elsewhere because of the roadblocks to domestic energy production, we see other countries, us becoming even more reliant on overseas energy. And just a couple of weeks ago, Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke warned that a major disruption in foreign oil supplies that sent prices skyward could thwart the economic recovery. So the Federal Reserve Chairman has recognized that the more dependent we become on somebody else, if there's a disruption in that supply, a disruption in that overseas energy source that we're relying on, it could thwart our economic recovery. And let me just go to a chart next.
Before you do that, can I just remind you that Admiral Mullen, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, along that same line said there can be no national security without energy security. There can be no national security without energy security. That's a wake-up call, America. Now yield back.
Well, that's a great point on national security, because it does not only do we have economic objectives that we need to achieve with a national